So, are multicolor decks actually good in Legacy, or can people just not decide which one of the Lord of the Rings cards they want to play? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Michael wanted me to play with a card that doesn't see Legacy play, but maybe it should. And that card is Burnout. For one red and a colorless rather, you can counter target instant spell if it is blue, and then draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Plus, you get to yell "Gotcha!" I believe that's obligatory when it happens. So this is a card that is just going to be worse than a Pyroblast or a Red Elemental Blast. And the question Michael had was, well, how much worse is it? Which prompted today's deck list. Most of the time when you're playing Pyroblast effects, you're in some sort of fair blue pile of some kind. And most of the fair blue piles in Legacy have adopted Orcish Bowmasters because it is so good against a lot of things going on in the format. It picks off small creatures, it punishes cards like Brainstorm, and we already want to be punishing Brainstorm with our copies of Burnout, so what else are we going to fill the deck with? Well, mana base be damned. We are going to go and play 4th Eorlingas in a 4-color, non-green control deck list that has 4 copies of Wasteland, a basic island, a Mystic Sanctuary, and I feel the pain in my soul looking at this mana base. But let's talk about the deck a bit more first. Legacy is currently in kind of this blue mid-range arms race, where everyone is trying to figure out how to get ahead. And this version that I'm going to be playing today, which is a pseudo Delver deck, I hesitate to call it traditional Delver because it's much bigger than traditional Delver, is going to be going down the Yorion rabbit hole. But a lot of people don't think that this is the way to go. And those people are instead going down the path of Delighted Halfling and using that to ramp into turn 2 to Fairy or Uro, and then into turn 3 the One Ring. So there's kind of a lot of conflicting ideas about how do I go and build a blue mid-range deck right now, and how small or how big does that deck need to be. Let's take a look on what I settled on for today. Now, today's video is sponsored by both moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. And remember, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order if you ever need some paper cards. So this is the deck list in all of its glory, and you can see an old, my bones hurt it's so old legacy card here, Painful Truths, which saw play in some Grixis control piles in, I think it was sort of that check pile era, when people were trying to out mid-range each other. And we're going to be able to introduce the Monarch into the game, as well as funnel a lot of late game mana into this card. And specifically, when you are playing 1-drops like Delver of Secrets, this has a secret second mode. The way this card works is whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you become the Monarch. So, if you play a turn 1 1-drop and the coast is clear, you could just play this for 2 mana, attack with your Delver, and take the initiative that way. You don't have to take the initiative with one of the knights that you make, which can make this card very strong when you are on early game mana sources. Taking a look at the mana base here, like, we are making the most out of cards like Prismatic Ending, but like, this is going to come at a price. We are going to have hands that end up with like Wasteland, Badland, Scrubland, and we're looking at our Delvers and Ponders and crying ourselves to sleep. And that's just something that's going to happen. But we are playing raw power magic here. Murktide, 4th Eorlingas, Orcish Bowmasters, Dragon Rage Channeler. Like, we are just playing the hits of Legacy. This is just lots of strong cards in a strong pile that has a Yorion, so we can't run out of gas. That's the game plan here. The Wastelands do kind of work against dumping a whole bunch of mana into this card in the late game, but hopefully that doesn't end up being too much of a problem. And we'll see if we can counter some blue instants with Burnout. The biggest difference between this and Pyroblast is that this is not going to be able to hit a Murktide Regent, and I'll try not to complain too much when that actually happens. All right, let's go ahead and hop into the matches here and see how this feels. Let's battle. And I feel like it's like 2015 and I'm just starting my villain arc here, just like Delver backed by Force of Will. I don't want to use this Bobble. I think I just want to see what my opponent is playing now and have a chance at drawing another blue card. LED combo deck. All right, we've got Delver backed by Force of Will, which is a great start. I have a prismatic ending that can counter an LED that's played out. Oh, baby, I like that. I forget how good it feels to just play Delver. Since I spend so much time playing fun decks for my channel. All right, I am not going to brainstorm here. I will not reveal that card. So let's play Wasteland. Wasteland that Underground Sea. I think it's okay to play a second Delver after taking my opponent off a mana source to start with. I'm not 100% sure what they're playing. Preordain is uncommon. It could be Doomsday. I am trying to randomly just draw another blue card here. Yes, is why I'm not brainstorming. Because now I just have double Force of Will available, backing up 2 Delvers. Feels good. Smells like Doomsday. Yeah, there's another blue card. I still don't think I need to play any spells. Just feels unnecessary. My opponent also could just legit be playing Ant. Sure, that's fine. You may Thoughtseize me. Yeah, that's about what I thought. So I don't know exactly what my opponent is playing. Like, I know they are in the combo ballpark. Storm is pretty likely. Doomsday is also possible. Preordain is uncommon there. And the LED is often one of that involves some very specific piles. All right, I've taken a look at my opponent's history, and it looks like they are a, like, Tin Fins player, an instant speed reanimator player, so I know what I'm up against now. Meaning that I probably want these 6 cards right here. I probably don't want to be answering their creatures once they are in play. Swords can go. Do I have lightning bolts? I do have lightning bolts. Those can go to the dome. Those still matter. Bowmasters has some relevant text. Prismatic Ending is not particularly strong. I could cut some endgame here relatively easily. I think I will do that. And I think Burnout misses too many cards. A lot of the relevant things my opponent is doing are in black. Yeah, it's like fine. I think I keep a hand that looks like this on 6. I don't think I keep a hand that looks like this on 7 on the draw. Yes, this is stronger. And keep this and just throw back the lightning bolt, I think. All right. Opponent's starting the game off with a fetch. I assume I'm gonna... Oh, nope, that's great. Great. I love that I'm gonna get to sneak this spell bomb in. Daze is my draw. That's pretty medium. Underground Sea? I think I immediately want a black source here for this. Daze. I will daze your daze. Fuck. We're fighting today. Pitching a consider, sure. I don't have the ability to use my second daze to fight here. Stack cleared. So I'm a little afraid of a Thoughtseize just taking my brainstorm and then I have no sort of reasonable interaction. There's an Entomb. I don't have daze available right now. My opponent played around Force of Negation. I have a Spell Pierce. That is a great draw. I have Spell Pierce and Daze. And my opponent's on 3 cards, 4 after they draw. I'm chillin'. This is pretty good here. I am just going to go ahead and make a land drop and pass. I'm not going to Shallow Grave for the old instant speed reanimator thing. I think the way that I handle this is brainstorm in response. Oh, fuck, these cards are so fucking good. I think put back the land and Bowmasters, and then daze the Shallow Grave so that I still leave Spell Pierce up. Fantastic. I have to be very careful about never giving my opponent an opportunity where they can put that Grizzlebrand into play. A new Shallow Grave. This is going to cause me to fetch. So I'm going to lose access to Orcish Bowmasters. Volk. White doesn't do me a lot of good right now, so probably just Volk. We'll counter that. Ooh. Brainstorm's fine. Alright, I have successfully pierced. That's nice. This Spell Pierce is going to get worse as the game goes on. Oh, shit. That's my play this turn. We're just going to throw down a huge Murktide Regent and try to kill our opponent. We drop Spell Pierce for a turn cycle, but I still have Force of Will. And once I have both Force of Will and Spell Pierce available, I'm very comfortable with how this is going. One Murktide Regent hit means so much against this deck, since their life total is relevant. So am I pitching Delver or am I pitching Spell Pierce? I think I'm pitching Delver. The Spell Pierce still stops, like, cantrip into Shallow Grave, which I think matters. And my opponent is done with me. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Alright, bad guy Phil here for round 2. Time to clock in and do my fucking bullying. So we're going to lead on Dragon Rage Channeler off Volk. We have Daze backup on this, and then I have Orcish Bowmasters for turn 2, which is pretty darn good against a huge portion of the format. Yep, it will be good against Scalding Tarn. I'm just going to say no to that. This is a reasonable card that I am not ready for yet. I am just going to put that into my graveyard. This gives me 3 card types in graveyard, which is pretty good. The Illusion of Choice. I found it again. So we're just going to go ahead and crash in for 1 here. We'll see if my opponent is also Grixis, and then I just get punished by Bowmasters. But if I get punished by Bowmasters, then I Bowmasters their Bowmasters, and then I do a little dance. Wasteland's fine. It's annoying. But, like, I have 2 more lands in hand. Delver is reasonable. I should have played that pre-combat. That's a mistake, because if it gets countered and goes to the graveyard, I get 2 more points of damage this turn. Alright. Fetch. Grab another Volk. Play Delver. We have prompted a Brainstorm. Yeah, I missed 2 points of damage for not doing that pre-combat. Lessons learned. Although honestly, like, that's a lesson that I already knew, but you use a lot of your brain power for talking when you do things like this. Brazen Borrower is not the draw that I'm looking for. I wanted any land or 1-drop or a bauble or something. Alright, my opponent has their own threat. That's fine. I'll Bowmasters that at some point. This is not what I'm looking for, so I just have a whole bunch of uncastable cards in my hand, and the Delver might flip here. If it does, I can't Bowmaster it. Flipping to Force of Will, which is pretty solid here. The Delver has been held back defensively. My Dragon Rage Channeler has to attack. That is obligatory. Alright, cool. So if I want to try to keep Dragon Rage Channeler alive, the play is Brazen Borrower. I kind of just want to play a Bowmasters at my opponent's end step and save Brazen Borrower for if they Murktide me. Let's get in there. Yep, that's fine. And then they can't really brainstorm end of turn, or they're risking me having a Bowmasters. Sure. Yeah, so here's the Murktide Regent that I predicted. That's fine. I need to grab a black source here. This is probably going to be a... well, if I'm not worried about getting wastelanded again, it's a Badlands. This can get me wastelanded off of blue. My opponent's already used 2 of their wastelands, though. I think I'm okay with this. So this, in my opinion, is probably not good enough for a counterspell. Like, I think you save counterspells to protect Murktide Regent. And just, like, let this go. They are at 9. Really want a Brazen Borrower around a Daze. I'm going to try to ponder for a land here while my opponent does not have active Bowmasters. Success. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Land drop. I think fetch to clear now. Tundra? I have 2 Source of Plowshares that I'm drawing to that get rid of Murktide Regent cleanly. Always having access to red might be more important. I'm just going to pass a turn here. Again, I think Petty Theft is so important that I can't play it into a Daze. 6 damage to this attack. It's concerning, but not the end of the world. And to use my mana, I will do this now. Ping my opponent. They basically can't cantrip here, but they still could have their own Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, I can't cast that card. I think I attempt to ship in for the 4. Alright, my opponent goes 2-4. I'll pass the turn. I'll cast a Brazen Borrower in their upkeep if they don't do anything with their mana. Let them attack me. Like, do I let them attack me and just, like, legit just play Brazen Borrower as a flash attacker? Maybe Murktide Regent can't attack. I'm at 10 life specifically. Yes, please. Please bobble. Okay, targeting themselves. So that is half of my opponent's life total gone to Orcish Bowmasters, at least in theory. So the Murktide Regent attacks. If my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters, they play Orcish Bowmasters, pick off one of mine. They can block both of my things, only take 1 damage. Do I need to Brazen Borrower and bounce this creature? I Brazen Borrower and bounce this creature, and my opponent replays it. They take 2 from their things. I can play 4th Eorlingas and attack them for lethal. Taking 6 is a lot here. But I can also just cast Brazen Borrower at end of turn as an additional lethal attacker. Which I think is what I'm going to do. I died a double Lightning Bolt for doing this. And Bloomiers have gotten weird. At end of turn. Cast. Every point of life is very precious here. Lightning Bolt on the token. They take 2 from these. Yeah. And yeah. Yep, okay. Yeah, and then like my opponent can't fetch anymore. Ooh. I pivoted a lot in what I was doing in that game. I'm not sure whether or not what I was doing was correct, though. So, I like Cast Into the Fire for Orcish Bowmasters. I like Prismatic Ending for 1-drops. I like a Braid to kill creatures. I don't mind Spellbomb. I will think about Burnout. My Dazes are medium on the draw. My Spell Pierces are medium on the draw. And I have to decide whether or not cards are broken enough that I feel like I need Force of Will. To a lesser extent, Force of Negation. This not killing Pyroblast is so huge. It being double the mana cost is also so huge here. So conceptually, I feel like this game is over the board, right? It's about resolved Murktide Regents. And my opponent is going to have Pyroblasts and I don't. My Pyroblasts don't fight back against their Pyroblasts in terms of just literally speaking, and also in terms of efficiency. I don't know that I want to 2-for-1 myself when a lot of these other cards are involved. If it's about attrition, Burnout is kind of interesting. But like if my opponent is doing what I'm doing and boarding down Force of Wills, then it's mostly Brainstorm that this counters. And I don't think that works. All right. I have a reasonable opening hand. I don't have the ability to fight over my stuff, but I just have the ability to play more stuff, which is fine. My opponent's at a pretty big advantage on the play because like they're going to have the opportunity to use their Dragon Rage Channeler first before I will. That's an interesting draw. I think I like playing that on turn 1 and being able to play 2 threats on turn 2. It's a blowout to cast in the fire. Otherwise, it's pretty reasonable. Another thing that I can think about doing here is trying to wait to play Dragon Rage Channeler until I can protect it by it being a 3/3 and it lives through some stuff. Like Orcish Bowmasters, for example. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just Prismatic Ending this off Tundra. And this doesn't necessarily resolve like my opponent's on the play. They have dazes. But it does this time. Oh, that's fine. That takes me off a color, but it's not like they're flooping down, no, a threat in addition to doing that. That's cool, but probably is not castable for at least 5 turns. I don't think I'm exaggerating. I'm leading on Delver first, again, trying to play this once it is innately a 3/3. No immediate Lightning Bolt from my opponent. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have one. They could be waiting for their turn to play around days. That is acceptable. They don't have another land. I think I'm going to go for Blind Flip here. Blind Flip to Brainstorm, which is pretty ideal. I think I'll go ahead and make my land drop. An attack for my 3. Put my opponent to 16. I'm going to do something that I think looks a little weird. I'm going to play a Dragon Rage Channeler. And normally in these situations, you're supposed to play a Ponder. I think I'm actually going to play a Brainstorm after resolving this. Wow, pitching Murktide Regent. Let's let my opponent surveil. Put a Daze into the graveyard. Do I have Dazes? Do have Dazes. This is a great Daze. I'm going to Brainstorm, especially since my opponent doesn't have Orcish Bowmasters up right now. Cool. I think I bury 4th Eorlingas. And I can redraw this land in a second. I've already made my land drop. I'm going to go ahead and Mishra's Bauble. And again, I'm going to get this draw in before my opponent has Bowmasters available. They are drawing a Dragon Rage Channeler with only 2 card types available. Alright, so they get a Dragon Rage Channeler. Man, Cast into the Fire would be a sick fucking draw, huh? I'll take 1. So, let's Brainstorm. Murktide Regent. I'm good with that. I think we do that next turn rather than this turn. So then I will Wasteland my opponent now or casting any other spells. Attack my opponent for 3. They go to 12. Then I'll go ahead and Ponder, intending on shuffling. Shuffle those cards. Daze is fantastic. We're going to have Murktide Regent backed up by Daze. These are still going to be small in all likelihood. And that was an easy win. Okay, so this is round 3 now. I have no red or blue mana here, so we see the mana base biting me in the butt a little bit, but this hand is very strong. In a vacuum, I think this one goes back, and I lead on Delver with Daze back up into Orcish Bowmasters. Winning the die roll is cracked. All right, Delver resolved. Off to a great start here. All right, could be playing against a red prison deck of some kind. Yes, I will in fact reveal that card. I'm just going to confirm with my list. I think I have 1 basic. I do have a Daze for Blood Moon. Should that be a thing that I have to end up worrying about? It is a Ruby Medallion instead, which makes my Daze a little more awkward. That is resolving. I'm going to respond to that. Badlands is fine here. We're going to play Bowboy. and let the Metamorphose resolve, I think. My phone is like, is this 4-color Yorion Delver? It certainly is something. So I think I let this resolve. It's possible I lose the game for not doing this, but this is so much extra pressure. Like, because I get 2 pings. Seething Song with no mana floating is my day's moment. And now I decide whether or not I want to take the initiative this turn. I think I do. Like, the extra draw towards a Force of Will or a Daze is a pretty big deal. So this fetches Tundra. Then, yes, I know I'm doing this for X is 0. Bash in. Become the pretty princess. Draw a card. And I really wanted to get the Daze or Force of Will to look super smart. Alright, my opponent has a Seething Song again. Bergie is good. Bonus round's scary. So I got some stuff to yield to here. So my opponent gets some Rite of Flames. A lot of the things they do aren't literal card draws. They are exile things. I imagine that I am now dead. But with Orcish Bowmasters in play, that is a question rather than a certainty. Alright, I'm just going to F6 until my opponent can force me to wheel or something. That's multiple Burning Wishes. Finding Fiery Confluence. Which will kill me. I am just at 18. Wait, does that still go to the face? That card changed. Yeah, that still goes to the face, right? Yeah, it can't hit Planeswalkers anymore. So that's Fiery Confluence targeting me with a whole bunch of copies, and I die. So that's turn 3 through a Daze, stopping a first attempt at going off. All right, what do I like here? I like Force of Negation. Prismatic Ending is good enough. This exiles an artifact, which is good. Braid is good enough. It hits Bergie and also Ruby Medallions. Thoughtseize is fine. Spellbomb is pretty I'm probably not going to play that. I shouldn't need something like Painful Truths here. I probably don't need something like this. This leaves me with 2 more cuts. The cards at this point are just good. I could trim Bowmasters. I could also not play 4 Prismatic Endings. Or trim Swords. Brazen Borrower is very slow. Not permanent. I think I want permanent. Trim 1 Swords. I could trim 1 Bowmasters, but I think I like keeping all of those in there. Yeah, this is fine. This is very interactive. So let's start on Underground Sea and Thoughtseize my opponent. Galvanic Relay, probably. It's the card that is best versus Daze. I'm going to cast this and not use it yet, I think. This deck is capable of wheeling. I think I just save the card draw since I already do have a piece of interaction. Alright, cool. Take my bonus draw here. This isn't good yet. It's good in a second. Let's ponder. I'll take a fresh ponder. No shuffle there. I think I am just going to go ahead and cast this now. Off Tundra. This is kind of too many threats. This feels like too many threats. I don't think I can draw all 3 of these and win. Lightning Bolt doesn't line up well against the cards that my opponent currently has. That's an exile top 2 and play them. That's fine. When does this one expire? Until the end of your next turn. Got it. They're going to leave the Lotus Petal in exile for storm count reasons. I'm happy enough drawing that. It's a little awkward that I have these 2 lands right now and I didn't put the Volk in play. But I am probably still supposed to do that. I've just dropped a piece of interaction to Wasteland, though. But, like, my opponent does not have Bergie showing right now. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. All right, cool. We have weathered another turn. Some of that stuff drops off the playability range. My daze probably doesn't do anything. I'm going to go ahead and put a Yorion to hand here. And then at least I do have daze and force of will available simultaneously, although I don't think that matters a lot of the time. All right, so new mountain. That resolves. If I don't counter that, my opponent could empty, or alternatively just do a galvanic relay. So I think I'm supposed to counter that. I will pitch the daze. It's a little awkward here because I can still just like Lotus Petal bonus round afterwards. Yeah. But I'm hoping this is non-deterministic. Like, they have one unknown card here. They're going to Manamorphose, draw 2 cards, go up to 4 mana. And I just kind of hope that they fizzle out, or otherwise, like, pass the turn after putting things into play that care about these. Alright, they're going for more mana. That's Jessica's Will for 6 cards off the top. It's a pretty bad set of 6. Let's see if Ren's Resolve does cool things for them. Again, from bonus round, they get 2 copies. It's all mana. So I'll cast both medallions. Oh, it's Galvanic Relay. That's rough. That's the sort of thing that I was trying to dodge. Without mathing it out, I believe that I am dead. My lines play themselves here. It's sorcery speed, kill Bergie. Sorcery speed, kill a ruby medallion, and then die to all this stuff. Alright, so there's a new ruby medallion. There's Seething Song. And at this point, I think I'm just going to go ahead and skip to me being dead. This looks pretty easy from here. Okay, so here's the Burning Wish copies on the stack. And there's Fiery Confluence. That domes me down to 3. Then they'll cast Past in Flames. And repeat the process. I am comfortable conceding here. The line is very simple. GG's. Alright, I really like this hand as long as I draw a blue card. I'm going to keep this one. Sometimes I'll just get turn 1 by combo for keeping this hand, but so it goes. It is Grief pitching Ravenloft Adventurer. So we are playing probably against a black-white initiative deck. I've lost Dragon Rage Channeler. We'll see if I just immediately eat a Reanimate on Grief. Dark Ritual, Opposition Agent for my double fetch land situation. That's not great. I take back Black-White Initiative. It looks like my opponent is on mono black. It's a very good turn 1. And they've potentially got Orcish Bowmasters because they shocked that in. So I will make a land drop past the turn. No Bowmasters, at least not immediately. And I'll eat 3 more points of damage here. I have Force of Will for Orcish Bowmasters if my opponent has it, so I think I just cast this Brainstorm. Yep. But I think I've just got to find a way to beat the opposition agent. Rough. These are going to be very hard to play. I'm gonna put these back, and I'll just ponder next turn and try to get out from under this. I don't think I give my opponent extra land drops. They've got to get to 4 mana to do a lot of the cool things that their deck can do. I think it is worth taking a bad redraw to not give them extra mana. Fuck. I don't know that I beat the second one of those. That's a start. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Yeah. Get pinged. I get it. Down to 8. Do this. Play Dragon Rage Channeler. Pass the turn. Note, I do not have a land in my graveyard yet. This is very important for what's about to happen. Yeah, that's very good. Doing that pre-combat also means that I can't do my Dragon Rage Channeler trick anymore. That's incredibly annoying. Alright, I take 5. Go to 3. Opponent has creature instant sorcery over there for the purposes of Dragon Rage Channeler. Guess I'm making a land drop and passing. I think my plan here is cast Orcish Bowmasters. Use the ping to kill their Orcish Bowmasters. 2 card types in graveyard. If I let my own Orcish Bowmasters go here, I can grow Dragon Rage Channeler next turn. Keep the Orc. I might need to do more blocks here. Because if I take 2, I then can't fetch to grow Dragon Rage Channeler. I think I'm doing more blocks. Unfortunate. I'm dead on board to Opposition Agent. I can play Delver and block for a turn cycle to help out with that. But it's not perfect. I will play Delver and pass. Puts me in a chump block situation towards drawing a lightning bolt. I did not. I will pass the turn here. My opponent might play around Orcish Bowmasters. They do not. Another Orcish Bowmasters probably would have won me that game. Say Livy. All right, we're playing against Mono Black. I like removal. Force of Negation's okay. Containment Priest does stuff versus reanimates. My opponent might have the Troll. Really just needed one more land that game. I have a bunch of situational counterspells like Spell Pierce and Force of Negation that are a little hard to evaluate. I'll be cutting Spell Pierce when I'm on the draw, I think. I think it's fine when I'm on the play. But I don't think it's better than fine. Is it crazy to just like cut or trim Brainstorm in the face of Bowmasters? Like, how crazy is that? My opponent has Sholdreds too. Yeah, you know. Yeah, this isn't crazy. No land. Easy mulligan. This is a slightly awkward hand that I just go ahead and keep. I think I'll pitch the Prismatic Ending and keep the mana. As long as I fetch with Lightning Bolt available, Opposition Agent shouldn't really be a problem. Yep. That's a Crypt and a Plague Engineer. I'm gonna go ahead and just no sir that one. Force of Negation can go to the graveyard. Yeah, this is just same land drop and pass. Only getting in for 1. I will potentially try to take the Monarch next turn. Awkward. Yep, that is resolving. Dark Ritual plus Opposition Agent is going to be a pain now, but I still think I just remove this now because it gives me the flexibility to do exactly that if I draw it. This is Tundra into Murktide. Now my opponent's deck can have Edicts. They don't always. Yep, Edicts and Snuff Out are the 2 primary sources of removal. Next turn, I will attempt to become the Monarch. Cards like Sholdred are scary as of right now. Yep, that falls into the category of cards like Sholdred. I now probably can't play this card. And Ravenloft Adventurer dodges a lot of my removal, unfortunately. I am just going to fetch now. Would like access to black, I suppose. And I'll grab Underground Sea so that Mystic Sanctuary can be on. Do I cast this to make a 2/2 without attacking? It makes my opponent's attack more awkward. But maybe I just let them attack and then play this for X's 2 next turn. That's probably better. Probably, because it like introduces the Monarch into the game when we would be trading that back and forth. So like, there's doubt. So much damage. I'm going to take 5 this turn and then 10 next turn. As things stand as of right now, it's really scary for me if my opponent plays another body here. Murktide's cool, but not doing anything right now. All right, X is 2. Attack in. All right, damage went through. Opposition Agent, sure. So I'm just dead, right? 5 plus 5, 10 plus 3, 13. Yep. GG's. Tough matchup. Alright, we are playing a Yorion Mirror of some kind. I'm not really excited about this opening hand. It really doesn't do anything. It has redraws to do things, but I think I'm willing to just full mulligan this one. Yeah, this hand's a lot better. I'll keep this, probably pitching Tundra. I could pitch Force of Negation, actually. Like, the lands are good for drawing, like, Murktide and 4th Eorlingas and Friends. Days stops a lot of the early stuff anyway. I'm down with that. Like, I don't want to be the first person to miss a land drop in a control mirror. And, like, maybe it's not exactly a control mirror. Like, I don't know. You know, could be Death and Taxes, could just be a combo deck that has Yorion. But I think this Daze is just protecting me from an initial removal spell, and we'll go from there. Marsh Flats, Black-White D&T is possible. So let's go ahead and bobble. That can go to my graveyard. I think I do this one. It doesn't represent Bowmasters. I guess I can attack first. 1, 2, 3. No, I do actually want to play this one for some fringe scenarios where I cast Swords to Plowshares. 1 mana flash thing probably isn't happening. Daze could happen though. Alright. I'll beat in for 1, and I will crack this now. My opponent will just fetch and undo the information that I get. Alright, it is Caldra. We are playing against D&T. But I want to do that before Bowmasters happens. So there's the fetch for my opponent. Grabbing a basic. Brazen Bar was kind of a medium draw. That is a Swords to Plowshares. That is resolving. That's fine. So we'll just go ahead and chill for now. I want to do this Murktide Regent when it's a bit bigger later on. Just going to make a land drop and pass here. Wasteland's a bit awkward for me. If they wasteland me, my Daze gets better though, so like there's that. Sure. I'll float a blue. And then I'll just go ahead and fetch. It'll be a new Tundra for me, I think. Not the end of turn Brazen Borrower I was hoping for, but it's the Brazen Borrower that I'm getting. We have Daze for Bowmasters, which is why I'm comfortable doing this. Samwise, that represents another Wasteland. Or a fetch. So we will just Daze that. Alright. 3 damage. Opponent's at 14. We'll play a pretty small Murktide Regent. I'd like to draw a blue card to just have Force of Will backing up this Murktide. I don't really care about the Brazen Borrower dying right now. I care about the Murktide dying a lot. Recruiter's fine. Like, it's very good because it can represent something like a Solitude that can answer the Murktide Regent. Solitude. They are going for it immediately, unfortunately for me. I lose the Murktide. Bowmasters is almost good. Here we see my 4-color mana base giving me some trouble. In terms of life totals here, I'm doing very well. In terms of who's actually winning this game, I'm not sure that it's me. Yep. Finding Orcish Bowmasters, which is obviously very strong right now. Gets a lot less strong if I get black mana. Which I didn't. Am I introducing the Monarch to this game? I attack, get a card. My opponent plays Bowmasters and holds the Monarch. The look at the land is really important, but I think my opponent draws more cards off of this than I do, unfortunately. Also, unfortunately, like, this wasn't a blue card, and I don't have a 3rd land to put Yorion into my hand to be my other blue card. It is what it is. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to play it and try to spike a blue card to Force of Will the Orcish Bowmasters. Maybe that's my line. Because, like, if I do that, it's pretty reasonable. But, like, the Monarch is miserable when this is involved. Alright, I'm going to take 2. And I think I am interested in exiling this so that it can't come back with Sam later. Would not have hit blue mana. I'll pass the turn and do some mid-combat Orcish Bowmasters nonsense. So let's fetch. Underground Sea. Do I want 2 sources of white? Take Underground Sea. Let's cast Bowmasters. Sam's very annoying here if my opponent has it and I kill a recruiter. But I have blinking to worry about in the not too distant future. So I think I am interested in taking both of those off the table. My opponent's not really going to be drawing cards. Maybe I just clear the board. And sometimes I get lucky and get to do this. Down to 7. That is a batter skull that I'm not prepared to beat. 1 card away from being able to beat it. Unfortunately, probably just losing to that. Just don't really have game 1 answers to that reasonably. That just puts my opponent out of burn range. Yorion to hand. It's very hard to tell how I am supposed to ponder. None of that does anything here. Sure. I have time for Painful Truths as a draw 3 next turn. If I take 4 on the attack, I'm at 13. If I take 8, I don't really know that I do. I can counter Yorion, but I really need to find something like a Murktide Regent that can stall the Batter Skull, and I also need a decent number of instants and sorceries in the graveyard. I'll have that part covered. Sure. No shuffle. Play Volk. Pass. At some point, I can also just play this as a couple of blockers for the Batter Skull. It doesn't feel good, but it's at least a plan. This is really for Yorion. I take 6 next turn. Painful Truths for X is 4. Force of Will Yorion on the way down. Sure. Black, blue, red, white. Draw 4. Did hit a land drop, which I can use to Force of Will. This is 4, 5, 6, 7 total damage that I'm taking. Did not find a Murktide Regent, which is annoying. I'm in imminent danger. Alright, no Yorion, so my opponent has kind of wasted some of my mana. I'm on the play creatures plan. Yes, I'm on the play creatures plan. It's not a good plan, though. This puts me to 2. Do some variety here. I play Dragon Rage Channeler as a 3/3 that can block Thalia. Maybe Delver is on chump block duty instead of playing this. I've changed my mind. I also don't like how I've tapped quite as much anymore. This one, I really want to leave up Bowmasters. Guess it's these 2. This leaves up all of my colors. But this doesn't leave up the possibility of Murktide. Graveyard that. I think I very specifically need Murktide. Okay, so there's land drop, Delver, and I leave up end of turn Brainstorm and Force of Will for Yorion. This gets me through a turn. Hardcast Solitude. That's going to have to be a nope from me. Force of Will, paying 1, pitching Force of Negation. Prismatic Ending can answer a Thalia. It doesn't answer the Batter Skull. It could answer the Batter Skull Germ. My opponent just re-equips that. I still have the same problem. I think I just graveyard that. I have a slightly larger problem in that, like, the Yorion can offer a flying body to put that stuff on. Fighting such an uphill battle here. Rough. I think that means I effectively lose the game. I lose Dragon Rage Channeler. I have 2 bodies here since I forced. Yeah. Alright. Yep. I will concede. GG's. So I would like removal. Yeah. I'll consider Thoughtseize as well. I do not like Spell Pierces here. I do not really like Force of Negation here. This is 6 cards. This would be 2 more cuts. 4th Eorlingas is a little awkward in this matchup, as we saw. Like, my opponent just gums up the ground. think I trim a couple of these, and I might even just trim all of them and play Containment Priests as well. I'm not, like, the most excited about playing Containment Priest, but I think I'm going to do it. This is a one-lander. It is a one-lander that has a very strong start. I am going to keep this, and just hope that my opponent doesn't blind wasteland me on turn 1. I think Death and Taxes a lot of times just wants to keep its lands. Alright, cool. We've dodged. This flipping so it doesn't get hit by Orcish Bowmasters would be really cool. I will not reveal to Dragon Rage Channeler. I go ahead and hit with Delver. And I think I ponder for a land drop instead of just immediately playing Dragon Rage Channeler. That's a land drop. That's a real awkward one, but that's a land drop. How the F do I stack this? Bowmasters on bottom, I guess. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Do this. Delver is set to flip. I have Daze to protect. Although honestly, I don't even know that I protect the Delver right now. I think there's just scarier things that can happen. Scrubland's really rough in terms of my mana. Bowmasters is going to get dazed. That is something I am very happy to just say no to. So I will reveal the Ponder, which now means that I have a blue card in hand for the purposes of Force of Will. My opponent goes to 14. I will drop a Dragon Rage Channeler. It is unfortunately a 1/1 as of right now. My opponent plays out something that I can Prismatic Ending a good portion of the time. And I can do some lines that guarantee that Dragon Rage Channeler flips. Like upkeep Lightning Bolt my opponent's Surveil, Dragon Rage Bowmasters into the graveyard. Alright, there's a fetch from my opponent. They tanked for quite a while. Alright, do I counter this? If I counter this, I can guaranteed attack for 6 and then have 2 removal spells as follow-up. I am fine with doing so. Now neither one of these dies to Bowmasters if that's something that my opponent has. I think that's honestly the biggest reason to just do it. But it's like awkward if my opponent follows this up with like a Solitude. Never fails. Alright, goodbye Dragon Rage Channeler. My position isn't the strongest here. Get my opponent to 10. Stoneforge is fine. I'm going to Prismatic Ending that away and probably just Lightning Bolt their face. Ooh, a second one. That's more annoying. Now I have to use a Lightning Bolt. Well, do I have to use a Lightning Bolt? Finding Jitte. Okay. Now I have to. So, Junk 1. Daze is okay. It might end up catching a hard-cast Batterskull, which certainly matters. Goodbye, Stoneforge. Also, I cannot stress enough how scared of Wasteland I am. Yep. A Thalia. That is just gonna get dazed. Just use it on a valid spell while I can. Now we're just kind of hoping to limp over the finish line here. Bobbling my opponent should be fine. Let's see what they're drawing. It's a land. I'll do this. The goal is just to be able to attack one more time with Delver and then ping my opponent with Lightning Bolt. Murktide Regent is a great draw. The Scrubland is a little rough. Alright, they are passing the turn with mana available. Let's go in for a kill. Alright, they'll go to 1. I can Lightning Bolt them at my convenience. With that on the stack, I think I just Lightning Bolt them. Got 1 card left. Or they have a creature in play that they can Swords to Plowshares themselves. Alright, we have to do it again. I haven't seen Vial from my opponent, but it's almost certainly in their deck. Could play Spell Bombs. Bad versus Orcish Bowmasters, it's fine versus Sam. I don't think I'm going to change anything. This is a pretty medium looking hand. I think this is just too much mana. I'm gonna go ahead and mulligan this and try to find something a little better. Mana doesn't work with this hand. We'll go to 5. 5-card hand is not good. I'll be keeping this. It's probably the best hand that I've been offered thus far, but it's not good. So I am down 2 cards already. My opponent didn't play something like a Vial that I could just Prismatic Ending. I'm gonna play a land and pass. Like my opponent to play something like a Thalia that I can just Orcish Bowmasters and move on. I hate this scrub land so much. It just like not contributing towards Murktide Regent is brutal. The biggest advantage right now I have is the clock advantage. I think I don't cast Brainstorm here. Well, I could cast it if I am always willing to Brainstorm lock myself, which I don't know that I am. I think I just wait a turn. Yeah, Scrubland not casting Brainstorm here is so annoying. Alright, we're finally getting some movement here. Yorion to hand. Alright. So I will go ahead and fetch now. I'm going to grab a Volk. I'm going to Brainstorm. Put back land. I don't really want this Delver. Still going to put back land, and keep the gas. The Underground Sea for variety. While I have the ability for this to be safely done, I should probably cast this Brainstorm around Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, these not being blue pips is so brutal right now. I'm going to put back Wasteland. Prismatic Ending, I think. And again, use my cantrips around Bowmaster. Is Force how I'm doing this? I really don't want to draw those other cards. Lightning Bolt. Can't play Delver. We're holding up removal. I get Wastelanded off of white sometimes. I also used way too much time in that turn cycle. Alright. We're chilling. There's Force of Will. I don't think I'm playing out Delver. I'm just going to put my own Yorion to hand, give myself more flexibility. Caracas is annoying. That might be my Force of Will target. I don't want my opponent to tutor up a Batter Skull that they can just hardcast very easily. I think I need to wait until my turn to take action on this. For reasons that'll probably make sense in a second. Bowmasters, target the mom. And then shit's probably going to get real fast. Oh, I thought for sure I was playing around a Samwise situation. Alright, something's happening. Well, I can't counter that, so that's happening. And we're chilling? We're chilling. That's a great draw. I'll attack with the Orc. I'm not going to attack with my Bowmasters, I don't think. So there's a Bowmasters from my opponent. Oh, which pings my attacking creature. Sure. I'll just pass with all this mana available. Flicker Wisp resolves. That's fine. I don't think I expose Containment Priest to Skyclave. I think I just take 1. I'll go to 16. End of turn. Cast Containment Priest, which will make their creature not come back, at least in theory. Yep. I think I need to fire off a removal spell onto this to open up more lines on my turn. Ephemerate's rough. Knew it was a possibility. My Yorion's worse than their Yorion. They've picked up a Stoneforge. I've gotten a Braid to help with that. Red, black, blue. Wait. Black, red, blue. Draw 3 cards. Oh, fuck. I forgot about the Bowmasters. Fuck. I just punted this game. God damn it. We're so focused on other things. Alright. Yeah, I was looking at this. Oh, god damn it. I'm so upset. Game was still very winnable. Alright. Yep. Yeah, I was supposed to just Swords of Plowshares, then do that, and then set up for these things, removing everything else. And I just didn't do it. Now I am so incredibly punished for that mistake. Because I have to take that out so I don't take a billion damage this turn. Yeah, I just punted this game. Like, it's not like the game was going to be easy from here, but I just took like 6 more damage than I needed to. And like, disrupted my own ability to play around loops. I've got the Abrade for the Batter Skull, but I just don't beat the pile of creatures at this point. I am comfortable conceding there to my own mistake. And we'll 2-3 instead of potentially 3-2ing. Alright, so we've reached the end of the league here. Let's address a couple of different things. Number one, let's address burnout. And to do this, I've actually done a little bit of looking at some deck lists to approach this via math. So, traditionally speaking, burnout is going to go and hit 4 Force of Will. 4 days. And then you kind of run out of targets in a lot of deck lists, right? Sometimes you get things like Force of Negation as well. But what is this going to miss that Pyroblast or Reb is going to hit? Well, you're going to get your Murktide Regents, your Delver of Secrets, every single Planeswalker that you're going to see. You know, your Teferis, your Jaces, if you want to be playing that for some reason. Your Sauron's Ransoms. So, like, I kind of ran some numbers. And like, would you use a burnout to counter a daze? Like, let's start there. That's probably not going to happen, right? So realistically, what ends up happening is burnout is something that fights over hard counters like Force of Will and Force of Negation, but it's also going to go and miss Flusterstorms. So if the big thing that you are going to hit is Force of Will with this, and like, okay, you hit the Force of Will and then you draw a card, and that's cool. That is a great interaction for you. You're just missing too much other stuff for this to be viable at all. So even when we played against the Delver Mirror, like I couldn't realistically board this in. It just missed too much. It was only hitting Force of Will, which my opponents might have boarded out anyway. Thinking about the deck list more generally, I feel like if you are only playing against other blue soup piles, this is a perfectly reasonable and strong deck list. And then when I played against the non-blue decks, I wished that I was just on a more traditional build. Like in the last round versus Death and Taxes there, like Scrublands and Badlands very much cost me that game. Maybe 2 of them. I don't remember how bad it was the first time around, but like not being able to like play a spell, hold up another spell, or otherwise double spell in a turn cycle was really brutal. And I don't know that going into the white was worth it, or alternatively that going into the black was worth it, kind of depending on how you view things. Like Bowmasters and 4th Eorlingas are both incredibly powerful cards, and they are worthy of consideration in this shell. For sure. Unquestionably. I don't know that you get away with both while also playing Wasteland. I think like you can go bigger than this and you can drop the Delvers, which were kind of so-so over the course of this league. And like you can play the rest of these threats relatively reasonably, I think. But mana was not smooth this league. I don't know that I'd go so far as saying that it was problematic, because most of the time things were okay. But like the Wastelands, the Blood Moons, the Rishadan Ports, the Back to Basics of the world are like very much going to hurt in playing this deck. I give this deck a shaky thumbs up with the caveat that like burnout is not where we need to be. Just the gap in power level between it and Pyroblast was noticeable from before the time that I started recording. And then once you realize that in a lot of the blue mirrors, people are going to be boarding out Force of Will, so like burnout has lost its best target, that just fully felt unplayable. I guess the last thing that I want to say here is that Legacy is very much changing. The play patterns are very different than what they used to be. Like there's Bowmaster things to watch out for, fourth Eorlingas things to watch out for, one ring lines that you have to play around. I think the format's very interesting right now. And I'm sure some of you down in the comments are like, Lord of the Rings cards this, Lord of the Rings cards that. But I think the format is in an okay place right now, so long as you're willing to adapt and try new things. Some of those things like Burnout, maybe don't try. Folks, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and if you end up needing any paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!